There is a moment you have seen 100 times. The goal goes in, the celebrations start, then nothing. The referee holds up a hand. VAR is checking, and for the next 2 minutes, nobody on the pitch or in the stands knows what is happening or why. At the 2026 World Cup, that is going to look completely different. Not because VAR is going away, but because for the first time, 3 separate systems are going to work together to make that decision faster and then explain exactly how they reached it. Today, we are going inside the officiating stack that FIFA and Lenovo have built for 2026. 3 components: 3D player avatars, a sensor in the ball, and referee body cameras, each doing a different job, all feeding into the same decision layer. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what each system does, why the official messaging undersells the most important one, and what still happens when the technology gets it wrong. Start with the component that barely gets mentioned, but is the one that holds the entire system together. There is a sensor inside the match ball, a small inertial measurement unit. Think of it like a very precise accelerometer that knows the exact millisecond it was struck. Here is why that matters for offside. Offside is decided at the moment the ball is played, not the moment a camera captures it, not the moment a human presses a button. The frame the ball was kicked. For years, that frame had to be found manually. Someone in the VAR room watched the feed frame by frame and selected the moment of contact. The problem is, a camera at 50 frames per second can only give you 20 millisecond resolution. A human picking frames introduces error on top of that. The ball sensor removes that entirely. It timestamps the exact moment of contact in milliseconds and transmits that to the system before any camera has even finished processing the frame. Everything else downstream, the avatar positions, the offside line, the recommendation to the referee, is anchored to that single timestamp. Now for the part that got most of the press coverage, and the part that press coverage mostly misunderstood. Before the 2026 World Cup begins, every player at the tournament will step into a scanning booth, all 1,248 of them. Each scan takes about 1 second. What it captures is the precise shape of that player's body, limb lengths, shoulder width, torso dimensions. That data is used to build a 3D avatar, a digital version of each player, scaled and shaped accurately to their actual body. Now, during a match, the tracking cameras around the stadium are doing what they have always done, tracking every player's position many times per second. But now, instead of mapping that movement onto a generic stick figure or a rough body outline, the system maps it onto each player's actual avatar. The result that fans see on broadcast, the 3D animation of players frozen at the moment of a potential offside, is not a cartoon. It is a reconstruction of the actual positions of those actual players using their actual body proportions. Why does this matter beyond aesthetics? Because one of the persistent criticisms of earlier SAOT models was limb ambiguity. The system struggling to correctly identify which part of a body was a shoulder versus an arm, especially during fast movement. The personalized avatar reduces that ambiguity at the tracking model level, not just the visualization level. So here is how the 3 components actually combine into a decision. The ball sensor fires, that is the start clock. At that exact millisecond, the system captures the 3D positions of every player on the pitch from the tracking cameras. Those positions are mapped onto the pre-scanned avatars. The system then calculates relative positions, specifically the distance between the most advanced body part of the attacker and the second to last defender. If the system is highly confident, meaning the identity mapping is clean, there are no data inconsistencies, and the geometry is unambiguous, it sends an audio alert to the assistant referee. The flag does not go up until that alert comes. By the time the AR raises the flag, the system has already done the calculation. The VAR room receives the same output: the reconstructed 3D state, the offside line, the recommendation. VAR checks it. If there is a concern, a data inconsistency, an identity error, they can override or request more angles. The on-field referee makes the final call. This is not an AI referee. It is the fastest, most accurate measurement tool in officiating history with a human decision layer on top of it. The third component, referee view, is the one that fans will notice most, but that has the least to do with making decisions. Every referee at all 104 matches of the 2026 World Cup will wear a body camera. After trials at the 2025 Club World Cup, FIFA settled on mounting the camera near the ear rather than on the chest, closer to the referee's actual sightline. The feed is stabilized in real time using AI, processing out the motion blur and shaking from a referee sprinting at pace, and delivered to the broadcast production desk as a live camera angle that producers can cut to like any other. Here is the critical thing to understand. The RefCam is not an input to VAR. The VAR room does not use bodycam footage to make officiating decisions. FIFA has been explicit about this. What Referee View gives you is a transparency product. It tells the story of what the referee saw and when, for highlights packages, for feature content, and eventually, perhaps, for fan trust in decisions. But it is an editorial tool, not an officiating one. Do not confuse the two. The framing you will see everywhere around the 2026 World Cup is AI referees. FIFA has to push back on that every single time, and they are right to. The system does not make decisions, it makes measurements and converts them into recommendations that humans then act on. The avatars are not there to make the graphics look good. They solve a real engineering problem, reducing identity and limb mapping errors that have caused wrong calls in earlier versions. The ball sensor is not a gimmick, it is the timestamp that makes everything else trustworthy. Without it, you are back to a human picking frames. And the RefCam is a broadcast product, not an officiating tool. The moment fans start assuming VAR can use body cam footage, you have a transparency tool that creates new confusion instead of resolving it. The gap between the press release and the engineering reality is exactly where this channel lives. The 2026 officiating stack is not a replacement for the referee. It is the most precise measurement layer football has ever had, with a human sitting at the end of it who still makes the call. If you have sat through a long VAR check and wondered whether any of that waiting was actually necessary, leave a comment. I want to know what you think the system should be able to do faster. Subscribe if you want the engineering reality behind the football you watch.